So how do you get finance for a business, or maybe to go to an auction or to do a property development without actually going to a bank? Now this is not for everyone, and this is not financial advice, but I've seen many entrepreneurs do this, especially in the beginning, when they don't have a lot of capital to play with, or maybe the banks don't want to finance them. Because normally when you go to a bank, especially if you have a new business, they won't finance you. They'll say you need to give financials for the last 2 or 3 years, and they want to see that you're experienced. So the normal banks are a bit difficult to get funding from. But even if you have the security, by the way, I mean, you might still struggle to get the funding. However, there are companies out there like bridging, they call them bridging finance companies or alternative financing companies, and they will normally give you the finance even if you're a brand new business, but you do need to have security, and that's why I say this is not for everyone. So to give you an example, for example, let's say someone needs to go to an auction. They want to buy a property or something at an auction. Now, normally, if you go to an auction, they only give you about 21 days to raise your finance and issue the guarantees. In general, it's not enough time for a bank to do a funding application. So what these bridging companies do is they say, okay, come to us before you actually need the money. And if you have an unencumbered property, which means a debt-free property, let's say the property is worth, 3 million rand, they will then say, okay, we'll give you 50%, 1.5 million. And if that's what you needed, you can now go to that auction with your 1.5 million in your pocket, so you can bid for that property, and you now have the deal, right? And normally those loans are for a short period. So the bridging finance is normally expensive. They'll charge you something like 3% a month, some of them 3.5% a month, right? But the idea is that it's short-term funding. So I used to have a particular client. He would find these really great deals in the market on the property side, but he needed to put cash down as quickly as possible. So he would take one of his existing properties, go to a bridging company, tell them, right, here's a property. They would give him the funding. He would go sign an offer to purchase, and then he'll buy the property. Now it's an income-producing property. Once he's taken ownership of the property, in about 6 months' time, he then goes to a normal bank and he says, right, I own this property. It's income-producing. Can you refinance it? And then the bank then takes over that, and he can now repay the bridging finance company, so that he doesn't have to carry that expensive funding. Okay, so it works like that. Right now, we're assisting through my advisory company. We're assisting some guys who are starting a commodity company. They need $1 million, but they have an unencumbered property. So basically, we're assisting them in raising that finance. So we know I work with a few companies because I'm in property, so I have a relationship with a few of these companies. And they're basically going to give him the R1 million. He can take advantage of this commodities opportunity. It'll be for 6 months.